Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 48 in the book of Deuteronomy. We all sit under the shade of trees that we did not plant, and we stand on the shoulders of those that come before us. And spiritually, we stand upon the inherited blessings that we didn't earn. Read with me in Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 10. When you draw near to a city to fight against it, offer terms of peace to it. And if it responds to you peaceably, and it opens to you, then all the people who are found in it shall do forced labor for you and shall serve you. But if it makes no peace with you, but makes war against you, then you shall besiege it. And when the Lord your God gives it into your hand, you shall put all its males to the sword. But the women and the little ones, the livestock and everything else in the city, all its spoil, you shall take as plunder for yourselves. And you shall enjoy the spoil of your enemies, which the Lord your God has given you. Thus you shall do to all the cities that are very far from you, which are not the cities of the nations here. But in the cities of these people that the Lord is giving you for an inheritance, you shall save alive nothing that breathes, but you shall devote them to complete destruction, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, as the Lord your God has commanded, that they may not teach you to do according to all their abominable practices that they have done for their gods. And so you sin against the Lord. When you besiege a city for a long time, making war against it in order to take it, you shall not destroy its trees by wielding an axe against them. You may eat from them, but you shall not cut them down. Are the trees in the field human, that they should be besieged by you? Only the trees that you know are not trees for food you may destroy and cut down, that you may build siege works against the city that makes war with you until it falls. So we're going to talk about two codes of conduct here. One is for those outside the borders of Israel and those inside. He has a special code for those inside the promised land and one for those outside the promised land. So he's going to make a distinction between those far and those near. For cities outside the promised land, if you draw near to fight it, offer peace. And if they can come to terms of agreement, the choice is for those people, their labor or their life, which kind of seems like a simple choice. You give your life for peace. So your very existence is the mercy for that people that did not make peace with the people of God, and by extension, with God himself. In other words, things would have gone much better for you if you would have made peace with God in the first place. Now, the people that are near in the people of Israel, these are people that God devoted to complete destruction. And at first blush, it seems violent and harsh and not very nice. We've talked about it a couple times before in this podcast. But the story doesn't start with the violent, harsh, and not very nice response of the Lord. It starts way before that. There are no innocents here. There are none who are not guilty. So remember, these are the people that were sacrificing their own children to some false gods. And this takes us back to the concept of harem, which is destruction to an evil and deserving people group. So why does God do it? Well, he's going to eventually demonstrate his hesed, which is another term for his faithfulness, his kindness. And now both are to an undeserving and evil people group. So we must unpalatably watch God devote an evil people group to the destruction, so that God can make a pure people to set his love upon, and in them so doing, to demonstrate his hesed and his faithfulness to this undeserving people group. So this people, by setting aside the law of Moses and setting aside a relationship with God, is to be rightly set apart for destruction. So watch as God exercises harem, this destruction to an evil people group. And then why? So why does God have to destroy these people? Well, eventually, so that he could come and get you. So he does this whole thing with harem and devoting them to destruction, eventually, so that the story could be that he demonstrates his love for you. So as for you, he says to the people as they're besieging, don't sin against the Lord by disobeying this command for the people occupying this land. And he says, don't be short-sighted with regards to the trees. Build siege works with non-essential, non-fruit-bearing trees. In other words, don't destroy the means of production. So Israel here gets to inherit trees that they did not plant, cities that they did not build, orchards and vineyards and crops that they did not plant, houses that they did not fill. That's from Deuteronomy 6:9 and this passage. So in other words, they stand on the shoulders that are not their own. So the conclusions today is that spiritually, we too stand upon inherited blessings that we did not earn. And it's pictured this with this Israel inheriting the crops, vineyards, cities, full houses, and yes, even trees that they didn't plant. So this is a favor that is undeserved by them. In the New Testament, we call that favor that you don't deserve, we call that grace. So how might the Lord ask us to respond to receiving trees that we did not plant? So perhaps we can identify first a tree that you didn't plant and under whose spiritual shade you now sit. So if we talked about the spiritual shade that Jesus gives us, the Holy Spirit and the Father gives us, and if we catalog them, like it says at the end of John, all the books in the world couldn't hold all those treasures. So let's just put that aside for a second. What I'd like to conclude with is think of people who have been spiritually good to you and served you. You may not even know their specific names. Just thinking, for example, maybe they built the building that you enjoy every Sunday. You know, maybe they paid for the pew that you sit on or the carpeting that's on the floor. Or maybe they worked, behind closed doors about the Constitution that helps your congregation stay on track. Or maybe they fought for a truth in some conflict or something like that. Maybe they changed diapers. Maybe they served. Maybe they taught the fourth graders. Or maybe they invented the ministry that you came to know him under. So these, for today, are the spiritual trees under whose shade we sit. Let's remember and be grateful for them today. Thanks for listening.